Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. We're going to be waiting for all the attendees to join this webinar this cold morning in Santiago. We have a good number of people attending to this webinar. We're going to be waiting just 1 more minute in order to start the event. So welcome once again. If you want, you can start writing on the chat where you're from, your company name, and why you are here, just to start a little conversation. Okay, we have a good number of attendees so far. We're going to be waiting just 1 more minute. Javiera Gracia, good morning. Here from Business News America in Santiago. Great. Welcome, Javiera. Okay, more people are joining. We're just going to be waiting 30 seconds. From Kenya, welcome.
Wow.
Roberto from Italy, working in Amsterdam. Good. A lot of people from all over the world, from Canada as well. Mike, welcome also. Okay, I think in order to respect the timing of the webinar, we're going to start. More people continue joining. Feel free to write down where you're from in the chat of the webinar. So we're going to start. Well, good morning. My name is Cristian Zagal. I'm an investment promotion officer at Invest Chile, the foreign direct investment office of the Chilean government. And I'll be the one conducting today's event. Welcome to our webinar, Plastic Recycling Infrastructure, Investment Opportunities in Chile. This has been organized by Invest Chile and the Chilean Plastic Pact, Circula el Plástico. Today's conference has the objective to highlight the great potential that Chile actually has in leading the way to develop the value chain associated with the sustainable packaging industry. Some of the new legislation, the Chilean Plastic Pact, as a clear public-private initiative combined with some of the country's attributes, fostered or boost the ideal scenario for new business. Before starting, we welcome you to have all of your questions, because we're going to have a question and answer at the end of this webinar in the chat zone. We will be reading those at the end. Please, whenever you write down the question, address that to the speaker you want that to be replied, okay? We will have the time to answer those. Now, I would like to present to you Andres Rodriguez Rowe, Director of Invest Chile, who will give you some welcome remarks and talk about key facts that makes Chile a solid foreign direct investment regimes. Welcome, Andres. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Christian. And thank you all for joining us today. I would like to take a moment to share with you a few ideas that shed light on why Chile is such an excellent investment destination and how Invest Chile can help you speed up your operations in our country. First, let's talk about foreign investment. Foreign direct investment in Chile is going through a particular dynamic time in Chile. According to official data, a record amount of 14.8 billion was invested in the country between January and July 2021. This figure is 74% more than the total amount FDI in 2020, which was 8.5 million. So we are very happy for those figures. Although the pandemic caused an overall drop of 45% of foreign investment in Latin America, investment in Chile is showing positive and stable growth. This can be attributed to a variety of factors, such as a multitude of market opportunities, a solid track record as an investment recipient, and economic openness, which we will talk about, and the work being done by, of course, our team in Invest Chile. Let's talk about Chile. Chile, as Christian said, has an excellent track record as a foreign investment recipient, which is extremely important for companies with a long-term vision. Although our country faces many challenges, like many other countries, we have been able to consistently maintain various positive qualities. These qualities include an excellent business environment, the best competitiveness indices, a solid financial system, access to clean energy, and the ease of setting up a company in our country. Something that has been recognized by major international rankings like the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Index. Additionally, our industries are open for foreign investment. We have a highly professional workforce, and our network of 30 trade agreements with more than 65 economies around the world shows that we have a true vocation for exports. As a result, international companies see Chile as an attractive market to set up, as well as strategic jumping off for growing their activities into other parts of the continent. Thanks to Invest Chile and the efforts of different Chilean ministries, which we work with, we also have the ability to effectively manage and support foreign companies' projects and often offer them business opportunities in highly attractive, innovative sectors. Chile is taking a leading role, spearheading innovation, and is always willing to explore opportunities in new areas such as plastic recycling. Let's talk about new opportunities. Our country is moving from traditional sectors, as you may know, like mining and infrastructure, to more sophisticated industries. 10 years ago, it would be hard to imagine that our country will now be promoting business opportunities in digital infrastructure, 5G, green hydrogen, renewable energy, and plastic, of course, recycling. In the last 4 years, the number of technology sector projects of Invest Chile, our portfolio, has tripled from 52 projects worth 1.6 billion to 173 projects totaling 4.3 billion this year. Clean energy is currently leading Invest Chile's portfolio, with projects worth more than $9 billion. We are developing our green hydrogen production capacity with companies from France, Germany, and Spain, and we are also offering opportunities in areas like food techs and pharmaceuticals. I am convinced that we can also develop the plastic recycling industry in the near future, using foreign investment as a driver to accomplish the ambitious goals that Chile is aiming to achieve. Given that more than 1.2 million tons of plastic are generated in Chile each year, there is plenty of scope in this area. While Chile currently has significant installed capacity for recycling, this will soon be insufficient to handle the demand for waste recycling in the short to medium term. It might be stressed that these opportunities are being created because of Chile's ongoing commitment to develop public politics that will make it a more sustainable country in the near future. Last, let's talk about a little bit about Invest Chile. As Christian said, Invest Chile is the agency, the state agency that promotes Chile as an FDI destination, and we are a key partner for foreign investors. We are currently managing a project portfolio of more than $24 billion, and each year we advise more than 700 companies in order to facilitate their prospection and their arrival into our country. We offer a range of services that include delivering tailor-made sector reports, performing field visits, and developing lean agendas with key industry stakeholders. Our team, which Cristian Zagal is part of, is able to meet foreign companies' needs in 8 different languages, thus facilitating their decision-making process and speeding up their arrival into our country. Last, I invite you to work with us to discover why Chile is a great opportunity for your company. And if you're already operating in Chile, let's talk about how we can assist you with your future projects and your um, company growth. So that's my brief part. Christian, the stage is back to you.
Thank you, Andres. Thank you for your words. Just to remark, Chile is not only concerned about the production, but also to produce in a sustainable way. And we're leading the path in South America and in Latin America. Thank you, Andres, once again. And now I leave you with Guillermo Gonzalez. He's the head of the Circular Economy Office in the Ministry of Environment. And he will talk about the circular economy and the extended producer responsibility law in Chile, the EPR. Thank you, Guillermo, for being with us. You can start sharing your screen.
Thank you, Christian. Just give me 1 second. I'll share my screen here. Almost there. Can you confirm that you can see it all right there?
Perfect.
Yes.
Guillermo.
Sure.
Great. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone all over the world. It's great to be able to speak to this very diverse audience. This is a very short presentation, about 10 minutes, where I'll tell you a little bit about what Christian already introduced, which is our extended producer responsibility scheme, especially for packaging, which is where plastic comes in, and to highlight some of the investment opportunities that we see in that area. And then I'll also tell you a bit about a new law that was approved only a month ago, which is the single-use plastic law. And I'll tell you what it entails and where we see other investment opportunities in that area. So we have an extended producer responsibility law since the year 2016, but it does not come into effect until we, as the Ministry of the Environment, do not produce the rules, the regulation, which is what we've been doing. And those regulations were enacted, were official in January of this year for tires, and in March of this year for packaging. We're now working on the lubrication oils regulation, as well as in the electric and electronic equipment and household batteries regulation. Only vehicle batteries we haven't started that regulatory process yet. So I'll double click in the packaging regulation to give you a sense of what it entails. And before going into that specific issue, tell you that our extended producer responsibility law is not very different from what you can find in most OECD countries. I would say the Belgium model is most closely related to our system, in the sense that we tell producers that they need to organize and fund all the necessary actions to achieve a certain target in terms of their of what they introduce into the market. Municipalities can have a role, but this is not like in some other European countries, for instance, in France or in Spain, where municipalities have the obligation to do the separate collection, to go out and collect recyclable material, and then they get paid by the producers. No, here it's the producers that organize that. Municipalities can do that, but not necessarily. They can also delegate that over to the producers. So again, this is not. The presentation is not a presentation on how the EPR scheme works. We can go into more detail there later on. But what I can show you here is that what I want to show you here is and what I think is relevant in terms of thinking about the investment opportunities is the ambition that we've drafted into this regulation, that we've put into this regulation. You can see that, as I said, this rule was published in March of this year. It will enter into force in September of the year 2023, so 2 years from now. It will start off with very modest targets in the first few years, and that's because setting up a new EPR scheme is not easy. We have to coordinate, or companies have to get coordinated, and we're talking about thousands of companies that are producers of packaging, and then they also have to get to certain agreements with municipalities, and then they have to contract the different providers of the services for collection, for sorting, for recycling, etc. And what we see in this graph is that where we get to from year 12 on is very, very, as I said, ambitious targets. Those targets are at 80 or 90%, depending on the material, to what the EU will have in a few years from now. So we're talking about here a 5-time-fold increase in the recycling rate for this is specifically household packaging. What does that mean? That we need 5 times more trucks going out and collecting the material. We need to have something that we do not have in Chile right now, and that entails large investments that have to do with sorting plants. We have very small scale manual sorting plants, and what we envision is that the only way in which we can reach these targets is by having high technology, industrialized sorting plants like the ones you can see in the countries that already have, in the OECD countries that already have this kind of regulation. And so we've seen already some of those projects being evaluated, going through the environmental review process, but we are sure that there are more opportunities there. And of course, it means 5 times more recycling for these different materials, including plastic. And then again, we have huge opportunities there. Just to give you a sense of what it also means, I mean, these are the targets. These targets are calculated per ton. I mean, if producers introduce 100,000 tons of plastic in year 12, they will have to be recycling 4,500 tons of that. So 45% of that total. But that's a total in tons. But what the other thing that we introduced in this same regulation is that we told producers in which way we want them to do the collection in order to really make this available to everyone. I mean, if we want to have everybody recycling, this is what we told them, we need to make this as easy as dumping trash, you know? And in Chile, on average, we have the trash truck going to households 3 times a week. And so what we're telling them is that we are going to have a recycling truck doing the separate collection for packaging, not only plastic, probably also for cardboard and metals, etc. And they have to do that on a door-to-door basis. So we're telling them that they have to go door to door, and they have to cover a certain number of households around the country in a gradual increase that you see here on the screen. So that is EPR, but at the same time, we've been working very heavily around combating plastic pollution, which, as you know, is a very big problem, a very important concern these days, not only here, but everywhere globally. Of course, one of the relevant things we've been doing is precisely what has convened this meeting today with this the Chilean Plastics Pact, which is Circula el Plástico. And basically what we did here is to convene the most relevant companies that produce plastic packaging, and they have established several targets that have to do with transforming the packaging they have in order for those packages to be either recyclable, compostable, or reusable, and also to make sure that those packages are not only recyclable, but that they're actually being recycled, and also that their new material, their new packaging includes recycled material. We've also worked with other business associations. This is the most important industrial business association, SOFOFA, and with them we've developed this this label where we tell consumers which plastic products are really recyclable in Chile. This is not something, we're not talking about technically recyclable, we're talking about locally recyclable. We're only giving this label to the products where we have certainty that they are being recycled in recycling plants in Chile. We already have 1,600 of these 1,600 products with the label in a 1 year period, and this is growing very, very rapidly, and it's also promoting the recycling process. And this is the last thing, what I mentioned at the beginning. This is a new thing that was approved, a new law that was approved only a month ago. On August the 13th, it was published in the official journal. And basically, what it says is a single-use plastic law, and what it says, it has several elements. But what's relevant for this conversation is that it says that every item, I'll put it this way, every item on a fast food restaurant tray will have to be reusable. So that is a major change that will come in 3 years from now. This is not doesn't happen overnight. We need to give time to the restaurant industry to adjust. But after 3 years, everything on that fast food restaurant tray, the cups, the plates, the cutlery, everything needs to be reusable. Of course, when it's for delivery, it's not something that can be reusable. So we will allow single-use products there. We will not allow single-use plastic products unless those plastics are certified compostable plastics. And this is also a big change that's coming up. We will see in the coming years, or in 3 years from now. And then the other provision in this law is that beverage PET bottles will need to meet a minimum recycled content obligation. And that recycled content needs to be collected in Chile. We're not talking about recycled content that has been imported from elsewhere, but it has to be recycled content from or recycled PET from PET that was collected here in Chile. And that, of course, works in tandem with the EPR regulation we were talking about before, because with EPR, we'll be collecting a lot of plastic. They have a mandate to recycle that, and here we're providing the demand for at least some of that plastic. And again, what we see here are investment opportunities related to, for instance, bottle-to-bottle plants, which we do not have in Chile these days. So again, a lot of opportunities coming up. Just wanted to mention very briefly that we've also developed a national strategy on organic waste, and this works in tandem with the compostable plastic provision that we saw in the previous slide. That's a very short overview of what we've been doing. What are the new regulatory and legislative actions that we've taken, and that will really transform the recycling landscape in Chile, and that will bring again huge investment opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Guillermo. That was an amazing presentation with some key factors, some key data on where is the challenge. I think the APR law and the targets for packaging those are the key points where the investment opportunities are. Well, moving on. Now we will know more about the key public-private initiative, the Chilean Plastics Pact. In the words of its director, Antonia Biggs. Antonia, welcome to this event. Please, stage is yours again.
Thank you, Christian. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I will do a very brief presentation on the Chilean Plastic Pact. So as you may know, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation created, the new plastics economy, which is an ambitious initiative born 4 years ago to create momentum towards a plastic system that works, applying, of course, principles of circular economy. And it brings together key stakeholders to rethink and redesign the future of plastics, starting with packaging. So this is a global commitment, to tackle waste and plastic pollution at its source. This is the main goal. So in Chile, and just as Guillermo also stated, in Chile, the Chilean Plastic Pact is led by the Ministry of the Environment and by Fundación Chile, where I work right now with a team behind me, of course, working together with Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So it's a public-private initiative that started in 2018. We gathered, of course, founding members from the private sector. Then we called and gathered all the plastic ecosystem. We launched a roadmap of what we wanted to achieve. We have working groups that I'm going to show you briefly, and we have implemented initiatives since last year and important milestone to move forward. And what we want to achieve by 2025 is these 4 goals that are very, very ambitious by 2025. So take actions to reduce unnecessary and problematic plastics and packaging through redesign, innovation, or alternative delivery models, to achieve 100% of plastic packaging designed to be reusable, recyclable, or compostable. And the third one, which you can see I have shared with you specifically, is that we need to achieve 1/3 of household and non-household plastic packaging to be reused, recycled, or composted. So that is why we are gathered today here, because of this 3rd target. And we also have a 4th target, which the plastic packaging must have among their different formats an average of 25% recycled material. So how does this work, or how do we organize ourselves? We have a governance. So we have members the founding members are part of the strategic committee. We have a technical committee and a communication committee. Our team at Fundación Chile is in the middle, the orange bubble. And then we have 6 working groups, as you see: open innovation, culture, dialogue, infrastructure, reuse, and circular design. And of course, we are gathered today here because of the milestones and the initiatives that we wanted to achieve through the working group called infrastructure. So I'll show you what we had planned to do this year, but I want to really emphasize that the Plastic Pact has actors in all of the value chain and relevant agents that make up the plastic ecosystem in Chile, So we have sitting at the same table the brands, the retail, the services, consumers, waste managers, recyclers, plastic manufacturers, tech alliance and know-how, and of course the government. As you see today, this meeting, this gathering has the public sector, and from our side, the private sector, and all of the value chain of the plastic ecosystem. So this is what we had organized to do this year. So a lot of prioritized initiatives. So we have guidelines. We want to have reuse models. We want to achieve an open innovation program, educational programs, collaboration. But as you see in the infrastructure group, we had two main goals for this year: a detailed study on the flow of plastics in Chile and an investor attraction program, which is why we are gathered here today, right? So just briefly to say again that the work carried out by the Plastic Pact makes this network an outstanding ally for investors interested in financing plastic classification or valorization plants in Chile. We have connection with the private and public sector, helping investors and projects developers to access key conversations. And we have connection also with the whole value chain, accelerating access to key information, suppliers, and know-how. And as I said, I wanted to be really brief and short because we want to hear Magdalena, which will be the next presenter. So that's it for me, Christian, and thank you very much again for this opportunity to work together.
Thank you, Antonia. It was a great presentation as well. It's been a pleasure to work with you and Fundación Chile. I think you guys are the experts, and we tell them how to invest to the foreign companies in Chile. So it's a great match. Now, continuing, we will have some industry sides from the words of Magdalena Balcells. She's the general manager of the Chilean Association of Plastic Manufacturers, ACIPLA, and she will talk about the opportunities arising from the Extended Producer Responsibility Law. Welcome, Magdalena, and we will listen to you.
Hi, Christian. Hi, everyone. I'm very pleased and honored to be invited here today. And I hope, as Christian said, I am the general manager of the Plastic Industry Association in Chile, which has all the value chain of the plastic in among its members. So we are very involved in all these issues that we have been discussing. I will be trying to complement a little bit what Guillermo and Antonia said, giving you some numbers and some interesting figures about the industry. So I will share my presentation now. And Christian, if you can confirm if it's working.
It's working. Perfect.
Great, thank you very much. So, as we have been listening this morning, we do have very, very big challenges ahead of us. And in order to understand the dimension of these challenges, maybe going a little bit around some facts and some numbers and figures will be interesting for you today. So in 2019, the annual plastic consumption in Chile was close to 1 million tons, which is equivalent to 56 kilograms per person. It's important to highlight that the bulk of this demand or use comes from sectors associated with bottles and packaging, which account for 38%. We can see the figure underneath of the demand, while retail, mining, agriculture, and fisheries account for 80% each of them, which adding all of it is over 75% of the industry. So not everything is packaging, that's important to highlight, but a huge part of it is. And that's where we're talking about today. So it's important to know the dimensions of this. This other figure shows us a little bit, for those of you interested in the type of resins we demand here in Chile, this is the distribution. So we have a very high demand for polyethylene, PE, whereas then is PET, then we have PP and PVC, pretty much the same amount. So that about, and the annual sales associated to the plastic industry in Chile are over 2.6 billion, equivalent to almost 1 percentage point of Chile's GDP. Okay, now maybe we should spring immediately to the facts about recycling of plastics in Chile. Today, I mean, the numbers we have today, maybe I have to clarify this before, are from 2018. We are working on an update of these numbers, but most of the numbers I will be showing you in regards to recycling are from 2018 and 2019. So 89% of all the plastic packaging waste generated in Chile is collected and discarded in landfills. 77% is recycled, and 4% ends up in ecosystems. As Guillermo was telling at the beginning, we are a country that do have a waste management system that takes a lot of the materials. The point is we are losing a lot of valuable material that we could recycle. So in 2018, as I told you before, Chile recycled over 83,000 tons, where 70% came from households waste and 83% for non-household or industrial residues. And that's very important because the second part of it, I mean the 83%, that's a coincidence number. It's not a mistype. And it's the system works more efficiently, a way to say, than collecting the household waste. Or recovering. I mean, the collection works, but the recovering of valuable materials is what we need to develop. From the 70% originated by the households, close to 55% are PET bottles. And that's good news, because even though we hadn't have the law until now, the REP law, there is a recognition of this material as a valuable material, so the people does collect this material and bring it to some kind of recycling facilities according what do they have available. The trend of plastic recycling in the country is mainly focused on PE, PP, and PET, which is in line with global tendencies. So that's about recycling in general. And now I'm going to go a little bit into depth into the installed recycling capacity in Chile. The installed capacity for plastic recycling in the country is designed mainly for, again, the same resins that I mentioned before, PE, PP, and PET. In 2018, the installed capacity for recycling, we have to see the different processes because it's not one thing only. I mean, there is washing, there is shredding, and there is pelletizing. So it was 80,000 tons for washing, 150,000 tons for crushing and shredding, and nearly 110,000 tons for pelletizing of recovered material. What does it mean that only 48% of the installed crushing and shredding capacity is being used, and 77% of the pelletizing capacity is currently being used? If the industry were able to use its entire installed capacity for crushing and pelletizing, the volume of recycled plastic could be increased by at least 65,000 tons a year. That's an increase of 77%. So here is a table with the numbers that I was giving you. That's differentiated by resins. And again, of course, the resins more recycled are PE, PP, and PET. So here in gray, we see it's only to show for the different resins how much installed capacity we do have available to increase the volume of recycled plastic in Chile. Then if we have all this capacity, what's going on? Well, Guillermo was very clear to explain that and to explain the challenge ahead of us in terms of collecting and sorting. And this is mostly, I mean, there's a huge challenge for the industrial residues as well, but mostly the household collection and sorting is where we really, really have to focus our attention to be able to meet our targets because we are starting in 23 with a target. So I will talk a little bit about that in the next slides. So collection and sorting facilities are limited and concentrated in the Metropolitan region. As estimated, of 64% of the recycling capacity in Chile is located in the capital. It is crucial to expand this capacity throughout the country because we have a very long country, as you all may know, thin but very long, and we need to cover all the regions. In 2018, 2,530 plastic waste collection points called puntos verdes and 98 puntos limpios, clean points, are facilities or stations that accept a variety of materials for recycling were identified. So that was the availability. Currently, there is only one semi-automatic sorting facility in Chile and a number of small manual sorting systems. This sorting capacity is proving insufficient for the rest of the recycling industry system. Again, we do have unutilized capacity for recycling, but we need to be able to recover more material and to recover that in better conditions. What are the opportunities arising from the EPR law? Which the enactment of the EPR law, the recycling of plastics is shifting from a voluntary action, primary push by entrepreneurs and price competitiveness of the recycled plastic resins in contrast to virgin resins, to an obligation where brand owners and sellers of consumer goods will be made responsible for the recovery of the residues generated by their packaging of the products. As Guillermo said, this scheme establishes that by year 12, 80% of all households in Chile will have an access to curbside pickup of the recyclable products, whereas today the coverage hardly reaches 10% of the households in the country. So you already know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about challenges. I mean, the numbers do reconfirm what Guillermo and Antonio were telling before. Additionally, the law calls for the mandatory installation of more puntos limpios and puntos limpios and puntos verdes for the collection to service 75% of Chile's districts. And this is a complement. I mean, because you might be asking yourselves, well, why both? Because in a complex world with many different habits, consumer patterns, and geographical challenges and differences, we need to be able to offer many different possibilities to easily give our materials when we are done using them, so we can recover most of them. In a 4-year period, it is expected to have 350 more puntos limpios and will operate under the recycling management system in compliance with high quality standards. That's another one of our very, very big challenges. Here are the numbers, how from year 2023 to 2026, how the numbers will have to be increasing until year 12, where we have to be able to reach the highest goal. This is to show you a little bit about in this graph how these numbers will have to increase in order to be able to meet the expectations and obligations of the law. Then when we go to plastic recollection and recycling targets set out in the EPR law, when we do a projection, we see that today we are recovering from households close to 14,000 tons a year, and we need to reach this many tons a year, so 145,000. So the decree establishes the 24-month deadline for companies to begin meeting their targets. I mean, they will be able to complement each other for the 24 months. And as Guillermo said at the beginning, it is like a time to set up the infrastructure, to start gaining like the training to make this all the system, complex system, to work very good and smoothly. But the targets are very, very ambitious, and there is a lot of work to do in that direction. So As final conclusions, I can tell you that the current unutilized installed capacity for recycling means Chile can manage recycling at the present level without any problems. However, in light of the target recovery rate set out the EEPR law, as I showed you in the last graph, processing capacity will need to increase considerably to meet long-term recycling targets. For the same reason, a shortfall is anticipated with regard to investment in infrastructure for classification and also valorization plans. I mean, feel like maybe the valorization part will has a little bit more space right now, but we need to work very, very quickly in both directions. Chile's recycling industry is positioning itself as a focal point for economic development and a role model in economics that has a positive impact in social and environmental areas. And the new legislation synergy between public and private stakeholders and the dynamic ecosystems are setting up a new niche for investment and entrepreneurship, especially for international recycling. So these are where I think the new opportunities are available, and I'll be available also for questions at the end. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Magdalena. That was a great presentation. I think we have a great challenge ahead of us. The investments are needed in the country. Now, to continue, I'd like to thank the Dutch Embassy in Chile, because they connected us with this success case. I would like to welcome Lara Von Dreuten. She's the founder and director of the Waste Transformers. Before going with Lara, I would like to remind you that you can leave your questions in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You will see there. Address the questions to the speaker that you want to be you want to ask the question. So, okay. Lara, please welcome, and we will listen to your presentation. This is an excellent success case that we have in Chile right now.
So thanks for the invitation, all. I'm delighted to be here, and a good morning and a good afternoon and a good evening to everyone involved. So what I would like to do today is just spend a little bit of time really talking about our experiences of entering into the market with in Chile. Before I do that, and I think it makes a lot of sense just to let you know kind of who we are, what we're about, and what we do. So we're a waste management company, but essentially we're a waste management company with a difference. And typically what waste management companies do is they function, if you like, as the Uber of waste. So, but rather than there being passengers in the car, they have garbage bags inside the car, and they're these huge, big logistical machines which move waste from left to right. We have a very different approach to waste, and to be perfectly clear, our focus is really on organic wastes and not on plastics. But what we do is we process waste on site, and we turn that waste into value, and we give that value back to the same person who produced the waste to begin with. So we've developed a small-scale modular anaerobic digester that transforms anywhere between 350 and 3,600 kilograms per day of waste. We adjust the number of shipping containers based on the amount of waste that there is. It's fully plug and play. We have online controls, so we know exactly how our installations are performing. And the beauty of it is, of course, the modularity based on the 20-foot shipping containers. We also comply with a whole string of really, really strict EU laws. And we try to convert that waste on site with a healthy business case. So the input is organic waste, and then we have a number of outputs we create. We turn that organic waste into a biogas. So there's no need to pay a waste management company to come and process that waste for you. That biogas we can turn into an electricity. That electricity can be used to power the actual site that produced the waste. We also have residual heat, and that residual heat can be used for various purposes, such as, for example, for air conditioning, or otherwise for refrigeration or hot water purposes. And then we recover all of the nutrients inside the waste, and we turn those nutrients into a high quality fertilizer, which can also be used on site, for example, to grow fresh fruit. We're from the Netherlands, we're based in Amsterdam, but we've been doing quite a lot of work in emerging markets, specifically in Sierra Leone, in Ghana, in Uganda, and in South Africa. We've also just started in the UAE with a local partner that we found, and relevant for today's discussions, we're making our very first steps into the market in Chile. And when we step into a new country, we really like to see if we can partner with the best and the brightest, because partnering with the best and the brightest, we think makes a lot of sense. And that means that you not only look at a local partner in terms of their track record, but you also look at a local partner in terms of their values, to make sure that you do have shared values and you do have an aligned way of working. We think that's really important to do. And the reason is because essentially we're trying to enter a new market with a new product. And doing that is really one of the most difficult things to do. We're really out there to try and kind of change and transform that whole waste management system. So we need to have, we need to be working with people who think like we do and really understand kind of what it makes and what it means to be a pioneer. And we think we've really found that with two very special partners, and the one being Territoria, who has a fantastic track record in developing sustainable building projects, and the other one, B0, who has some great ideas and enormous courage in the way that they tackle waste and have the target of zero waste. So this is essentially the project that we're working on. It's an incredibly exciting project. It's the Mercado Urbano Tobalaba, and it's in downtown Santiago, and it has the ambition of being the very first urban market in Santiago that will be powered by renewable energy. It functions really, if you like, as a living lab for innovation, and providing an etalage for all sorts of innovative technologies to show what they can do, and really to show the world how, when you bring all of these different technologies together, you can really push the envelope when it comes to innovation. And in that, you can, the project has the ambition to become the benchmark for cities of the future. So around that zero waste ambition, and we aim to place for the very first time ever in Chile in one of our biodigesters inside the building, and that biodigester will be used to co-power the building itself. And we will also recover all of the nutrients inside that waste, and those nutrients will be used in the green areas in order to provide a natural fertilizer for the green areas. And if there's any remaining, that could also potentially be used to give to the farmers who are bringing their fresh produce to the market. And that way we create a financially healthy, completely circular system around something that would otherwise be wasted. Just to tell you a little bit about our experience and how we got here. So one of the things we found was the whole permitting and the whole regulatory framework in Chile, which is of course has its own way of thinking and has its own logic to it. The thing is, what we're trying to do with placing a digester inside a building, and there is no regulation to actually cover what we're trying to do, which makes it incredibly challenging. And so the way that we've actually tried to approach that is we've said, well, let's take a look at the very strict EU regulations that there are, and try and understand those strict regulations. And our local partners, Territoria and B0, have picked that up with support from the embassy of the Netherlands in Chile. and has gone to the local regulators and said, look, this is how they comply with all of these completely strict laws in Europe. Can we make the translation locally so that we can really see what we need to do in order to achieve a similar kind of compliance there? So there's lots of conversations happening in order to make that happen. And I think once again, really important that you have partners who are aligned in terms of values and what they want to achieve, because if you try something like this, you really have to have taken your vitamins and be in there for the long haul. And because it's not just something that happens in a day. The other thing that we've done is, we've broken down the project into a number of bite-sized steps. So we've started with a feasibility study and then gained the insights from that feasibility study in order to see what could the local design actually look like. We also try to include a large proportion of local content. So we're also looking into the possibilities for, rather than shipping our entire installation from the Netherlands to Chile, to see if we can do some local manufacturing of the digester tanks according to our specs. And once again, the connections of our local partners have been really invaluable there in terms of getting us through it and tapping into the right local ecosystems. The other thing is that, when you try these things for the first time, and I would really just like to make the point that the cost of sale from a company perspective is relatively high. So it really makes a lot of sense, especially for a company like ourselves who think big by going small. And that there's really, with our local partners, the option for repeatability. And so that we can, once we've created the precedent, we can repeat that same exercise on a number of different locations. So far, the experiences have been great. It's been really exciting. And Chile is an absolutely beautiful country. And we're looking forward to the next one. Over to you, Christian. Thanks for your time, all.
Excellent, Lara. Thank you very much for sharing your experience in entering the Chilean market and all of the infrastructure and the technology that you have built in Chile. Now we're gonna pass on to the question and answer part of the webinar. I ask you to all the speakers to turn on the cameras, because we're gonna be having a brief conversation. Guillermo had to leave, but I see that he replied some of the questions in the chat, so we're covered from that side. I will ask some of the questions that I have at first to Lara, to continue with you. In addition to the building inside the city, which other applications do you see for the waste transformer, and why?
No, I think that Chile is really provides fertile ground for us. And the reason is because you have this new regulatory framework, which really heightens the sense of urgency locally about the kind of change that needs to happen. You also have this fantastic geography in which your country essentially kind of weaves down the continent as a spinal column, and very long and very thin. And that means that along that spinal column, you have some very remote communities, and whether that's all the way up in the north or otherwise, whether that's all the way up in the south. So specifically those local communities who try to run their own dump sites, we think doing something like a decentralized waste transformation really would make a great deal of sense for them. And it would be financially, environmentally, and also socially far superior. And on top of that, they would be creating a nutrient-rich fertilizer, which they would no longer have to be importing, which means essentially that the model is not just interesting for this for the hub of Santiago, but really we think the country holds potential for repeatability at different places up and down its geography.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lara. Continue with the centralization part, because Chile is so long and everything is centralized in Santiago. I have one question for Magdalena. What has been the main driver for the development of the current plastic recyclers, and why they are so concentrated in the metropolitan area of Santiago?
Thank you for the question. Well, as I told you during the presentation, it has been mostly a competitive price and a business opportunity, of course. So it has been developed. It developed naturally in like it was a specific part of the market that needed this product, and the entrepreneurs had the vision and they started. The problem is that since we have this very long country with very different population density, and we have urban areas, extreme areas, very empty areas, it is not that obvious that just naturally, because the competitiveness of the price, that will be developing all over the country. The new law, of course, pushes a lot in that direction, which we think is a wonderful news, because we really need to develop infrastructure all along the country, and we need to be creative, because it's not, since we have a very different population density in the different regions, we will have to look for different solutions in different places, because not all of them, I mean, not the same business model does not work for all the places. So I think there's a big challenge, and it's hard to give like one thing. There's no one single answer for the or solution for that.
Totally. Magdalena, in going in the same sense of that answer, do you have like an idea of which regions are behind in terms of the recycling infrastructure? That's a question from Javiera Garcia.
Well, we know for sure that where the infrastructure developed in the past is where the demand for recycled resin is present. So if you have, and we are pushing another initiative called a clean production agreement, exactly looking for including or incorporating more recycled resins than usual plastic uses. And what we can see from that is we need to have more traceability of the kind of product or resins, recycled resins we're producing. And we need to find some other places. For example, we have a big mining industry in the north, so it could be a pole for developing of this technologies. The same with the south, with the fisheries and agriculture. And in the middle, we have more industrial. So it is, again, a question of time, market, and investment, infrastructure development. I think.
Perfect. Thank you, Magdalena. I have one question for, it can be replied by Andres and Antonio as well. I'm a foreign company or a national, because we have some national attendees here, and I need more information about the opportunities in the plastic recycling industry. How can Invest Chile help to me as a foreign company, and how this is getting involved with the Plastics Pact from the Antonio perspective? Andres, if you want to start, and then Antonio can complement.
Okay, no problem. How can we help? First of all, we have information, not only about the country, but at different sectors. We, Christian, as an executive from the promotion division, can help. We don't have many projects of recycling here in our portfolio, besides that of Michelin, which is tires and others. But the idea is to deepen that sector, go further in those projects. So the best way is to contact us through Christian, and we can help you in any way we can. And if we cannot inside our organization, we work with ministries, sectoral ministries, to help you move around. Christian, can you add something to that?
I'm gonna let Antonio to reply before, and I will add some information if it is we have something more.
Yes, I was sorry about that. I was going to reply. more or less in the same line as Andres. I mean, we are a public-private initiative. Therefore, if you contact us, we can help you to speak to the key actors of the value chain of plastics. So that would be the fastest and quick answer that I can give you, and maybe we can leave our emails, I don't know if in the chat or directly to the person who did the question.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we will leave the emails in the chat. The whole idea of this event was to get some interest from the foreign companies, the national companies, so they can contact us, and we can start having one-to-one meetings with them, giving them the key information on how to start the business here, where exactly are the opportunities within the country, and so on. So I also welcome you to visit our social networks. We just issued this ebook with all the figures and data of the actual industry in Chile, where you will see where are the opportunities, what are the key actors, where are all the stakeholders, and so on. So please visit our social networks in Invest Chile, and you will be able to download these sectorial ebooks. We are reaching to the end of this webinar. I just want to ask Lara one final question that called my attention. What were the main constraints when entering the Chilean market? If you can reply that was a question from the audience.
You know, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I like to think an opportunity rather than constraints. And I think, if I turn the question around, you know, in the whole of South America, Chile is a very mature market. And there's a lot of the infrastructure is in place. There's very mature banking processes in place, and that regulatory framework is also very strong. So from our perspective, you know, to really look at a country that can form a launching pad to the rest of South America, and Chile is really that country for us, and it makes a lot of sense for us to get our feet wet, as it were, in your market, and then from there we can look and see how do we want to develop and what other areas do we want to go into. I know I've made the point before, but I probably want to repeat it, is that not everything is by design. You know, some things also just happen by chance, and when you meet a local partner that you really believe in, and you think that you know, has the execution power to really make things happen, it's almost like sometimes the world is speaking to you and telling you that this makes a lot of sense. So it's also got a lot to do with the local partners that you meet and the support structures that you think that there already are there in place. So I would perhaps, this last point, just say to others, you know, who are interested in entering the market, and Chile has some great things going for it. So dive in, get your feet wet. Makes a lot of sense to do it one step at a time, but I would really make the dive.
That was amazing. I love the reply. I think, well, I think we're done for today. I want to thank all of the speakers, Antonia, Magdalena, Lara, Andres. It was a very nice conversation. This is just a start. We would like to continue the work towards the foreign investors, national investors through Fundación Chile. We will look over the foreign investors, and we wait for your questions. Download the ebook, send us emails. We will like to organize meetings with you. So many thanks, and we will stay in contact.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.